before the FAST conference. Again, this event is your chance to discover the future of work and unlock your professional potential. So, here's what you can look forward to. Medyo blurry ako. Uh, okay. So, our team will share the screen regarding the program. There you go. So, this event is your chance to discover the future of work and unlock your professional potential. So, we have some expert speakers sharing their insights on the latest trends and innovations shaping the world of work. We have panel discussions focusing on essential skills for thriving in the ever evolving job market. So, we have the driving business growth through remote and hybrid work setups. We will also have like networking opportunities to help you build valuable connections with like-minded professional and industry leaders. And we also have here, of course, the most exciting part would be the virtual job fair. So virtual job fair where you can, explore exciting job opportunities and connect with us, Tache. And so, yeah, don't miss out in this incredible opportunity to learn, grow, and network. So you can register via the link that our team will provide in the comment section. So see you there, rockstars. Again, Saturday na siya. So it's like 5 days before the event. So you still have time to register. Okay, so going back to our program, today is May, and as you can see in my shirt, Break the Stigma. Today is Mental Health Awareness Month. So just like how you take care of your physical health, by eating healthy and exercising, I believe it's equally important to take care of your mental health as well. So this means doing things that make you feel good emotionally, like spending some time with your loved ones, practicing relaxation techniques, and getting enough sleep. There are so many triggers, that causes stress and affects your mental health. And one of it is, let's face it, it's your job. And today we will be discussing the topic of overcoming the crisis of losing a job. I think this is very, very timely right now, especially there are so many people who experience job loss when the pandemic started, right? And losing a job can be really stressful and challenging experience for anyone, regardless of the circumstances. As mentioned earlier, it can be especially difficult during times of economic uncertainty. I've mentioned when the start of pandemic, many people struggled to find employment and support themselves and their families. However, However, it is really important as well to remember that losing a job does not define a person's worth or value. It's crucial to take care of one's mental health during this time, as it can have like a significant impact on overall well-being and future job prospects. So today, we have with us an expert in the field of mental health to discuss some strategies for overcoming the crisis of losing a job. Rian Z is a psychology graduate from University of San Carlos. So her passion in the academe led her to take on the career path as assistant instructor at the psychology department of USC. Currently, she's the operation manager of Key Events Entertainment Productions. So without further ado, let's welcome Rian Z to the show.
Hello, everybody. Good
Hi,
afternoon.
Glance.
Hi, Jamie. Glad to be
Hi.
here. Hello. Also
Welcome,
to
welcome.
yes, thank you also to everyone who is watching as well. I'm glad to be here and to talk about something that I'm quite passionate and interested about. So yes, thank you once
Mhm.
again, Jamie, for the introduction.
Yeah, I'm really, really excited to some of your insights regarding this topic because I am a mental health advocate, but I don't know anything. I mean, I'm not in the right position to really give some tips about it. I mean, I can support people who struggles, but the right um, tips or the right things to do should come from someone who really has their passion about it and the the profession, I mean the expertise regarding this matter. So Glenn, how do I should pronounce your name? Like, is it Glanzy or just Glens?
Just call me Glance. My mom, I often
Okay.
ask her, why is it double Z and with an A? Because it's pronounced as Glenzy. So I told
Right.
people, just call me Glance for short so that it won't be too complicated.
Okay. Yeah, so sige, let's I'll call you Glens na lang.
Yes,
Oh,
perfect.
in the whole interview. Okay, so Glenn's during the pandemic, a lot of people experience job loss. So can you tell us how does losing a job impacts one mental health?
Well, there are a lot of studies that says that losing a job for, in this case, it's like an involuntary job loss because losing a job compared to resigning from a job is actually quite different. Because if you resign for a job, it's out of your own volition, it's out of your own choice. So it's kind of like there is a greener pasture out there or something like that. But when you talked about the context of pandemic and the forceful job loss, that has a great negative impact on well-being, as great as actually the loss of a loved one, of undergoing divorce, or even going through depression and all of those things, because job loss, interestingly, is quite linked to your identity, which is who you think you are and how you see yourself. And so if you have that involuntary kind of job loss, or you lack that financial support and capabilities, and
Right.
so it also kind of like it equate to like, who am I without my job, right? So that question is very, I don't know, quite serious, and it's a little bit sad to the point that you would question your identity without your
I
job.
know, right, right. And I think one of the people type of people who really have this huge impact if they lose their job would probably be the breadwinners, the parents who
Exactly.
had their, who needs to support their family. So some of them really is interested to know more about this. So next question would be, what are some common emotional reaction to losing a job, and how can they be addressed?
Well, it is quite normal to feel negative emotions, sadness, a little
Right.
bit of depression, and it can also be that you would feel a little bit guilty, and shame is also there.
Mm-hmm.
So, the best thing to do when you are in this situation is to be in that moment first. Try
Right.
to be aware and conscious about what you feel, because if you do not process those sadness, those guilt, those shame, and you try to put them aside, because again,
Mm-hmm.
breadwinners, and we have to suck it up sometimes, because we need to
Mm-hmm.
um, work for the family and support them. However,
Right.
if
Right.
you don't process and feel those, that will have,
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of like opening of dams type of thing. When you
Mm-hmm.
don't feel those feelings and emotion will come crashing down on you, and it will be a little bit of not a little bit, but it will be very overwhelming once that happens. And so the best thing to do is, number one, be aware of what you feel. Where am I right now emotionally? Am I sad, or am I angry?
Right.
Am I frustrated? And so
Right. Right.
once once you know where those are coming from, you can actually address the root of that. And once you address
Mm-hmm.
that, just like what I tell my students, it's kind of like addressing it for one day, but being productive for the next couple of days. So it's still very productive, even if you just take your time for today to, feel those feelings and then grind
Right.
again the next days. So it's kind of like that.
I agree. By the way, oh my gosh, 11 minutes pa lang tayo, by the way, and we have 347 viewers on Kumu already. Wow.
Wow. Hello,
That's,
everybody.
yeah. So I think people really are very interested in this topic. So you've mentioned that one thing I learned about what you said earlier. I think it's really important for us to remember that your feelings are valid when you lose your job. Kasi
Yes.
sometimes even breadwinners, they set aside their feelings. They will just
Yes.
look at the other opportunities. They won't really they won't really acknowledge their feelings. So
Mhm.
minsan, sometimes nagpa-pile up yung feelings of
Yes.
of being too disappointed. And I think it's really normal to experience a range of emotions such as, shock, even anger or
Yes.
sadness, because acknowledging or addressing these emotions through support or self-care or seeking professional help can help manage them effectively and prevent them from becoming more severe mental health
Yes.
issues. So
Yes. Definitely.
we're correct. So according to Mark Clint, it is true. Awareness is key, and we
Yes.
couldn't agree more. So Glenn, what are some practical steps we can take to cope with stress of losing a job?
Well, I would say based on personal experience as well, take a step back. When you try to address an issue right away, there is that overwhelming need to seek a solution. However, when you are still managing and trying to cope with all of these negative feelings about losing a job, it's kind of like you can't think straight. So get
Right.
yeah.
Mm-mm.
So step back, um, listen to your feelings, like what you've said earlier. Sometimes we tend to want to address the issue right away. However, again, we are humans, we have feelings, and
Correct.
with
Yeah.
with that we have to address those. So step back, reevaluate what you feel, and once you have settled and calmed down, that's when you can actually be
Mm-hmm.
logical about the choices that you make. And it's kind of like lifting that fog and that cloud of uncertainty, because you
Right.
already have a direction of where to go. And second is, if it is too much for you, if it is causing you to be triggered, if it is causing you too much stress, try to detach from it for a little bit and breathe. Self-care, as you've mentioned earlier, is quite important. So self-care would entail maybe putting that aside for now and detaching from all that negativity until you are actually ready to address the issue, which is, in this case, moving forward and taking that next step to where you want to be after losing the job that you had before. So yeah, I think those are two practical steps rather, that might be easy for some, however, might also be quite difficult, because similarly with myself, although I say all of this, no, being ideal and actually putting it into action are two different things. So I am a very headstrong person as well. So maybe some of our viewers can relate to that. And so I want to address the issue right away. However, that's when it might not be helpful. So
Yes.
stop first and then, address the issue after. So,
Right. Sometimes it takes some time to recover from that, right? And while it's common, again, hello to our 525 viewers on Kumu.
wow, my
So
goodness.
yeah, so if you have like other questions, guys, please let us know. You can comment down. ang YouTuber ko naman, you can comment down to all, to all the questions that you want to ask, so that we can ask that to our guest speaker today. So, Glance, while it's uncommon, kasi ako, usually for the breadwinners, we really don't talk about our problems to our
True.
family, right? So,
Yes.
while it's common to turn to family during tough times like job loss, it's important to recognize the value of having a social support.
Yes.
So, how can how can a social support or family can help you to this kind of like problem? Like, ano yung pwedeng maitulong ng mga family or friends sa
Mm.
mga may problem ngayon, like job loss?
Yeah, well, us humans, we are social creatures and we cannot survive talaga without support from other
Yeah.
people.
No man is an
Regard
island, right?
Yes, definitely. So, regardless of us being strong, independent women or us being hardworking
Yeah.
men, sometimes the thought alone that when you take a look back after all of those hard work and all of those sleepless nights, when you look back, there are people who are there to support you. I believe sometimes it's enough for some people, even if
Correct.
they don't have, let's say, practical help, for example, or I don't know, they don't lend you money, for example, but just the thought
Mm-hmm.
of them being there is enough. And that is actually scientifically based as well, because when you talk about job loss, one of the most important factors that influence how we are able to overcome all of the negative feelings that we have is the presence of social support. So this can
Right.
be, yes, in the form of friends or in the form of your what you call the significant other or your family, especially as Filipinos. The way we perceive, the way we process emotions, the way we connect with others is very much anchored on our social group. And again, when you look at it in a perspective of psychology, our growth, everything about us, may it be social growth, psychological, everything, is quite influenced by our social support group. So, but now it begs the question. So if me as a breadwinner, let's say for example, I have all of these problems. Well, all of us have problems, especially when it comes to job. Should I right away, talk to my friends or my family and stuff like that? Yes, that's good, but I also understand because I also went through this. There is that sense of guilt as well. Na parang you're thinking na I know I'm also feeling like this, but I also understand that, my friend also has her problem, or my family or my mom also has her
Right.
problem.
Right.
So, what should I do? Where should I stand? So, that's when professional help comes in, because no matter how much, our friends and family would always support us, would always have love for us and support for us. However, at the end of the day, even if they don't consciously or they're not aware of it, sometimes they might invalidate our thoughts and feelings just because, again, they don't have the training to do so. And that's not negative,
Right.
that's just how it is sometimes. But as for me, I always advocate for seeking help. So
Mm-hmm.
that's when professional help comes in, because again, they are the ones who are trained to do it, and at the same time,
Right.
you don't feel that guilt because you are there to do just that, to unload all of the things that you're thinking about and feeling about. So I guess that's one of
Right.
the importance for social support.
Right. And I do understand, because at some point, people will, as much as we have that kind of love that we received from our family or friends, we can't help to feel, shame or guilt.
Yes, yes.
Sometimes we experience that, and as what you've mentioned earlier, it's really important for us to seek professional help. So we're in that part already, and as you can see, You can see here the break the stigma,
Yes.
because right now, unfortunately, some of us don't really like going
Yes.
to professional, because there has been a long standing perception that seeking mental health
Yes.
support is a sign of weakness or failure,
Yes.
which can prevent individuals from seeking the help they need. So how can we break that stigma?
Well, first of all, information and awareness is key. And at the same time, being open about it. I understand that for the longest time, it's only recent that mental health has been something that we are aware of here, especially in the Philippines. That's why
Correct.
it is understudied.
Mm-hmm.
But personally, for me, when I sought help as well, because even us in the profession we get overwhelmed as well. even
Correct.
my
Correct.
even my friends who are therapists or psychologists, they would always advocate to also have somebody that they can unload to. So it's more of changing our perception that it is not a sign of weakness to seek professional help, but it is actually a sign of bravery and courage, because accepting that you need help is like one of the hardest things to do. Accepting that accepting that hindi mo na kaya, I can no longer do this anymore alone, that I think I am overwhelmed, that I can no longer function fully, and understanding and knowing that that's actually a fact is difficult to accept within yourself. So, being able to know that, again, is a sign of courage. And being able to communicate that to another person that is like a stranger to you in the form of a counselor or a therapist, again, it takes guts. And so, with that, changing the perception of seeking help is a sign of weakness, I might say it is a very, very misconception. It's a bad thing to think about. So yeah, be aware of what services you can get, and again, the different services that you can get when you seek help doesn't mean that you have to be dysfunctional already. For example, dysfunctionality when you have depression, or when you have affective disorders, or all of these disorders. It's about, for example, you are having difficulty coping because you
Right.
are, when we connect it to our work, you are bombarded and swamped with task after
Especially,
task.
right, especially pag Monday.
Yes, yes, like today. So,
Right, right, right.
like for example, for myself personally, well, when you talked about me earlier, I am an instructor, and at the same time I also have another job, because in this
Mm-hmm.
in this economy, my goodness, after the pandemic, we cannot not have a safety net. So
Correct,
juggling that
correct.
be balancing that, it is quite overwhelming. So
It is, yeah.
accepting that sometimes it's okay to be overwhelmed and to seek help through, counselors, and unloading it. Sometimes talaga all you need to do is to cry it out. But
I agree.
um, for me, I always thought I'm already sad. It's actually
Why do you need to
sadder.
cry pa?
Yeah, it's actually sadder when you cry by yourself, right? So
Correct,
like,
correct, correct.
for me, I'd rather cry when somebody is actually there listening to me or something. So yeah, that's it. And last, I would just like to add up, that, well, we get sick sometimes. We get flu, we get coughs, we get what you call this, colds and stuff like that. Well, our brain is also part of our physical organs, and so sometimes it also gets sick. And that's okay, because it also gets better as well when you give proper
Correct.
intervention.
I
So
love that.
yes.
That's true. That's true. By the way, we have like 543 viewers as of now. And sabi ni Wei Chuli, ang ganda daw ng co-host. And I agree. You know what? I think that's the reason ba't maraming viewers now. But yeah, going back, Glens, I know I would like to highlight what you said earlier. Seeking professional support is a sign of strength, not weakness.
Yes.
You know, mental health professionals offer a safe and confidential space to discuss
Yes, definitely.
emotions and provide, guidance on coping strategies. Because I do understand some people who are afraid to really seek professional help because of the stigma. But by
Yeah.
breaking that, you can access the resources that you need to manage your mental health effectively and reduce the negative impact of mental health challenges. So we also actually, Glens, I would like, before I ask the next
Yes.
question, we have another question from our viewers.
Mm-hmm.
So he said, what's the worst comment a family member could say after a job loss? Oh, I can answer that. No, just based on
That's
experience pala.
yeah, that's controversial. Well, for you, Jamie,
Yeah.
based on experience.
Based on experience, yung unang sinabi sa akin before would be, paano na? Like, okay,
Mm,
paano na? But I do understand it, especially if you're the breadwinner. Kasi you will be the one, well, you're the one providing for them. So they will instantly ask you, paano na?
yeah.
How are we going to survive? Which is very understandable. So yeah, I think that's not really the worst comment, but that's how I received mine before. It's not
Mm,
the worst because I do
mm.
understand them. But how about you, Glance? What would be the worst comment a family
I
member could say?
Well, definitely, I think one of the worst would be to invalidate your thoughts and feelings in the form of ang OA mo naman, or
Right.
yes, or like it's all in your head, or sometimes when parents would
Sometimes they
say,
blame you.
yeah, sometimes no, although maybe parents, they're not aware or they're not conscious about it, it's not really their fault for
Right.
that matter.
Yeah,
However,
I agree.
comments such as parang anong tawag nito, um we've had it worse, um
Yes, yes. Yeah, that's true. That's true.
it feels so bad pointing this out, because again, it's not their intention, is not to
Right.
harm. It's kind of like
Correct.
maybe that's their way of, I don't know, alleviating
Encouraging.
also, yeah, encouraging
Yeah.
us, supporting us. Um, but in a way, because they are not aware, you know, it
I
invalidates
think
us in the
there's more, they are
process.
more comfortable with giving us the tough love, as what they say. Yeah. Yeah.
Tough na kasi yung world eh. Tapos yung buhay in general.
Exactly. Exactly. But that's like the harsh reality that we have right
Yeah.
now. Like the beliefs of the older people that the our generation is really
Mm.
different, and how they
Yes.
encourage them to do better is really different. We have like different approach. So
Yes.
Ray here is asking, aside from seeking professional help for someone who has undergone job loss, it will be quite
Yes.
expensive, especially if you are living from pay to paycheck. That's why
Yes.
seeking professional help is more like a tall order. Actually, this is kind of true. One of the reasons why I think people are afraid is it's another expense for them
Mm, that's true.
to seek professional help. So how can we like how can we manage our mental health with that kind of another expenses to think of.
Yes, that is the reality. And I agree with that, no? Seeking help, all of these things, they are quite idealistic, and only a few
Mm-hmm.
people can actually do it, because aside from the stigma, the economic aspect is there. So I would say two things. Number one is, I believe there are non-profit organizations that actually give these types of services. It's just a matter of knowing where to get these services and knowing who to approach. With that, it's very anchored on referrals. Like, for example, do you know people? I apologize for my dog. He is
It's
part of
okay.
my coping with my mental health as well.
Me too. I have my dog as well. I literally bought a dog just to have my someone to to rant
Yes.
to.
To
But yeah,
rant
yeah.
to. Okay, so
Yeah.
that goes to my second point, which is you know understand and know what you need at that moment. For example,
Mhm.
if you need to take a step back, if you need time for yourself, self care, for example. So
Mhm.
self care, for example. So those are one of the um, non. I would say. I apologize.
No worries. So
I'm just throwing him treats. I apologize for that. But anyway,
no
um,
worries.
so look for something that you want to do on your free time. So for example, for myself, I try to paint. I try to um, eat good food. These are things that would alleviate our stress in a way that might be inexpensive, but at the same time, eating good food, going out with friends, well, there will always be that economic aspect. So this is where putting yourself first comes in, because you cannot pour from an empty cup. And so,
Correct.
although we are, yes, we are all breadwinners, we are all supporting our family, but you also have to give something for yourself as well, because at the end of the
Right.
day, you cannot support your family if you cannot support yourself in the first place.
Correct.
So
Self
yun.
love. I agree. So, well, challenges, are part of life, but they can help us grow and learn. Problems,
Yes.
challenges. So when we face this kind of situation where we are so down or very depressed because of the job loss, we should see it as an opportunity to develop new skills and build resilience. But how can you use the experience of losing a job as an opportunity for personal growth and career development? Because you've mentioned earlier that it should be, we should focus on ourselves as well. We should give
Yeah.
like love for ourselves. So is there any other way to make this situation beneficial for
Yeah.
us as well?
Okay. Yeah, that's mm, looking at when you experience something negative, it is normal to feel negative about it. And to
Mm-hmm.
recalibrate that type of thinking, recalibrate that negativity into something positive, needs to have a change in perspective. We call that reappraisal. When you reappraise something, you look at the positive aspects. In the terms of job loss, some people would look at it as number one, it's an opportunity to come out of your routine, to actually start something new, to go into better opportunities or good
Mm-hmm.
opportunities, or trying out something that you're not used to. At the same time, sometimes when people lose their job because of circumstances, it's due to recession or due to redundancy and retrenchment.
Right.
And those are, I would say, might be one of the negative aspects of the organization. So some people would see job loss as a free pass, as to not
Mm-hmm.
kind of resigning, but going out, because some people, they would feel, or they might have negative experiences in that company,
Mm-hmm.
and getting out from that through job loss might be an opportunity. So to wrap this up, I think job loss, if you want to recalibrate and reappraise your thinking, look at it as like a new beginning for you, an opportunity to try something new.
Right.
However, you can only think about these if you have already felt the negativity and you are ready to look at it in a positive light. So, yeah.
Right. So we have like some questions here again.
Yes.
How about those who are introverts? What advice would you give to them in order to cope with the job loss, given that hanging out with people can be very challenging for me? Oh,
Okay.
I'd love this. I'd love this because I'm an introvert as well.
Yeah, same. So for me as an introvert and as a homebody, how did I cope when I like looked for a job? I watched a lot of movies. Again, it goes back to I'm trying to find like what are the things that distracts you from that. Especially
Mm-hmm.
you're not yet ready yet to again to feel that negative feeling, to look at the what comes next aspect. So as
Mm-hmm.
introverts, I believe we find ways to be entertained at home. So, read books, and also reading books can also help because there are some books that are self help books that are able
Right.
to help you overcome that negativity, that job loss experience and perception. And at the same time, um, like things that I did was paint, watch movies, binge watch on anime, and Bridgerton or whatever it is. So
Yeah.
at the end of the day, look for something that you are comfortable with, but at the same time, um, do not also take for granted the what you call this, the presence of your friends, of your social group. Maybe go out maybe once a week and then recuperate for the entire week. That's what
Mm-hmm.
that's what introverts really do.
Right. And you know what? I have to highlight or mention this because um as much as we give them tips or receive some advice on how to manage your mental health, it's really it might be simple to say it or
Yes.
but it's
Mm.
really hard to implement
Yes.
it. So
Yes.
if you didn't implement it at all, what are some potential long-term effects of that can affect one's mental health, and how can they mitigated it?
Okay. Um, when you don't implement, or when you don't look for good coping strategies, it can turn chronic. We have this concept in psychology wherein whatever you're feeling, whatever you are going through cognitively, mentally, psychologically rather, this will manifest in your body. And that's why when you are psychologically stressed, you also
Mm-hmm.
are susceptible to flu or to different diseases. As a matter of fact, when we talk about job loss, there is a high chance, especially for people who do not have social support, who are
Mm-hmm.
studies show who have lesser self-esteem, they are
Mm-hmm.
actually more susceptible to somatization. Somatization is when too much cognitive stress will manifest in your body. And this is quite confusing because you feel all of these things. Your back is aching, you have a flu, or you have constant migraine. However, when you go to the doctor, they don't have an organic basis. It means that they don't really see it, they can't pinpoint the cause of these things. And that's one of the very adverse effects if you don't prioritize your well-being. It manifests in your body, and with that, um, that's why you have to, they would say that elevate your stress. Or have you been quite stressed lately? What are one of the stressors that you have? And they would say maybe you need to take off from work, or maybe you have to take off and maybe step back and something like that. So that is the long term what you call this implication of not addressing these issues. So yeah, but you know what? Addressing these issues, going away from the perception of job loss or that negative experience, that's a very big mountain you know.
Right, right,
And I would say that it's not something that you can overcome overnight, even after a couple of months, even a year. No, it doesn't really do that. Um, so you check on yourself, you check on the small wins. Like, for example, today I was able to take a bath, or today I was able to reach out to my friends. And studies show that writing about it, making it
right,
tangible, meaning you actually see it, it's not just in your head, it makes it real, and it makes it better for you as well. So that's why keeping a journal is quite, therapeutic for some. However, for some people, yeah, journaling isn't for them. So find your niche, for example, because again, um, just like in therapy, or in anything for that matter, when you treat psychological disorders, one thing might be working for me, but then again, that might not be applicable to you.
right.
And
It's
so,
different from others, correct.
yes, exactly. And going back, implementing these things, doing self care, and elevating negative experiences, I am an advocate of the power of choice. So, if you feel that you're stuck,
Right. That's true. Self
yes,
awareness as well. Yeah.
yes, if you feel that you're stuck, and when people say, wala akong choice eh, or I don't really have a choice, that in itself is actually your choice of staying there.
Exactly. That's true. That's
And
true.
maybe you say that because number one, you might not be ready to make another choice, or you might be
Right,
scared
right.
in making the bad choice. But when you choose something, for me, you just need to accept the consequences of that choice, and
Correct. Yeah.
deal with it after. So yeah, I would say that's it.
Right. I'm really glad that we are actually discussing all of this right now, because one of the misconceptions of, in mental health is ang lagi nilang iniisip nasa nasa head lang yan. But in the long term, you will experience kasi physical
Yes.
effects.
Mm.
And that's true. So, if you don't want to experience all of that because it's really difficult, you have to do something about it. Again, at what
Yeah.
Glenn says, at what you said, it's your option, it's your choice, right? It's your choice on
Yes.
what to do. You have the right. Everyone can support you, everyone can motivate you, but it's up to you. What will you do to really work on your,
Yeah.
mental health? And I do have like one question again, Glenn. So this
Yes.
is, well, I'm kind of curious lang. By the way, we only have like, oh wow, we're over the half na ng oras, and I want to extend. I want to extend. No, I'm just kidding. But because this is really interesting. So my next question would be like, what if, like, for someone who has like pre-existing problems or pre-existing mental health, how can one navigate the challenges of losing a job?
Well, that's a tough one because when you have pre-existing, mental health, let's say, difficulties,
Right,
having that big of a trigger, job loss, a lot of people would really be triggered and would spiral from it. And again, one thing that will help you elevate that experience is knowing and understanding, number one, what triggers you, and number two, what
right,
you can do to elevate that feeling. For example, one of the things that we teach people who have difficulties in their mental health is what we call grounding. So, tell me five things that you feel right now. What do you touch? What can you smell? What can you taste? What can you hear? And
right,
through that, you can remember that you are here, you are present, and you are more than all your anxieties and all your irrational thoughts. And hopefully,
Right.
with that, you can go back to your sense of self and are able to navigate that trigger, which is, job
Mm-hmm.
loss. And at the same time, again, if you have, pre existing psychological difficulties, if you think that you are having difficulty coping, if try to talk to somebody. um if you really think that you need to be assessed, be open to it as well, because at the end of the day, as I've said, job loss is has such a great impact on your
Mm-hmm.
identity in your entirety, coupled with a pre-existing mental health difficulty. My goodness, it's kind of like you're already down on the floor, and then people are still kicking you because you're down already.
Right.
How can you, how can you navigate that alone? And that's when all other factors come in: social support, coping strategies, and all of those
Right.
other things aside from the things that have been mentioned. So yeah.
Right. And Glenn, you also mentioned earlier that one of the things we can do to help ourselves is to give a time off. So can you
Yeah.
elaborate, like, what are some potential advantages to taking time off after losing a job, and how can this be done in a way that supports mental health?
Okay. So time off is actually one thing that can be done that is fit for what we call self care. So putting yourself and your well being first. Advantages would be you can recalibrate. There is the reappraisal, because when you take time off, you are actually detaching yourself from the situation. I am not yet ready to engage in that conversation. I am not yet ready to think about that problem yet, because it is very
Mm-hmm.
overwhelming for me for now. And
Right.
so I will give myself time to feel what I feel, to be sad about it. And when I am ready, I will focus on it. I will, what do you call this, tackle it head on. And that is one of the advantages of taking time off, because you already have that headspace. You are
Right.
emotionally prepared, and mentally prepared to what do you call this, to assess the situation, to make solutions for the problem. And again, we are very busy. Like, life is so fast paced. And when you live in a very fast paced life, time off, although it shouldn't be, but it is a luxury. So
That's
it I
true.
think
That's true.
I think it goes back to what we talked about earlier, na giving yourself time and prioritizing yourself, because again, you can't pour from an empty cup. So time off is
Correct.
one of the things, and maybe it's also one of the advantages and the positive things about having job loss in that instance.
But how can you stay productive and maintain a routine while you're unemployed, and how will it affect to your mental health? Because as what you've mentioned earlier, yeah, you need some time off. You need to create a headspace for yourself. So
Mm.
how can you still stay productive while doing that?
Well, I would say it's okay not to be productive at first. It's okay to um, just sleep all day, or not do anything. However, you cannot stay in that state, because that's what when you spiral down that rabbit hole. So how do you stay productive? You have to force yourself. During the pandemic, I also had those days. Everything was so uncertain. We don't know what happens. We don't know if we're gonna go out into the world at some point. So there is that feeling of uncertainty, and there is that strong sense of loss of control. And so
Mm-hmm.
when you try to do a routine, or when you want to be productive, again, start in little steps. So set an alarm. Set an alarm every day at 9 a.m., for example. And even if you're going to snooze that alarm, you're going to turn it off, that's fine. As long as there is that routine already, that you have already set the alarm,
Right.
it can, what we call this, it sets off at 9 a.m. And Your choice of either waking up or not is still up to you. But again, sometimes you have to
Mm-hmm.
force yourself, because eventually, when you take that one step and then another step, and then you force yourself to do that in a daily basis, there you go. You
Right.
did not even consciously see, but you've already built a routine for yourself. So,
Yeah, it's more of like discipline as well, right?
yes. Well, don't pressure yourself by doing all these big things. Like, I need to send out
Correct.
5 emails or 5 resumes today because I'm wasting time. Recuperating is not wasting time. It is giving
Right.
yourself
And
time.
I
Yes.
agree. And during the pandemic, I've experienced this during the pandemic because during that time, many people have tried new hobbies, picked up new skills or
Mm,
started new businesses. And
yes.
then the pressure sa ibang tao. While this can be an exciting and productive way to spend time, it's important to remember that it's okay if you don't feel like doing anything new or productive during
Yes.
that time or during the pandemic because the pandemic has been a challenging time for everyone, and it's
Yes.
important to prioritize your mental health because whether we like it or not, the fact is we are mentally challenged during that time, and it's really difficult to be kind to ourselves because we
Yes.
see people who do different things and want to do the same thing, but you don't need to force it, as what Glenn said. You
Yes.
don't need to force anything that you're not comfortable doing. So speaking of the job search, how can you stay motivated and optimistic in the face of because it's not just one time you do the job search, you got a
Yeah.
job, I mean you got a job interview and you get rejected, right? So
Yes.
how can you stay motivated in the face of repeatedly having rejections and setbacks during the job search? How can you manage that?
Yeah, this question actually resonates with me so much because during the pandemic, I also, it wasn't just a job loss, but it was more of lack of financial support for myself. And so
Right.
I thought that I needed to have another job. And
Mm-hmm.
my goodness, 5 months of searching for another job is not easy. For example, in a daily basis, because I would really, at some point, I said, I'm just going to send out multiple job applications in whatever
Mm-hmm.
job that I can find. Because at this point, quantity matters for me because I haven't had a lot of positive feedbacks. As a matter of fact,
Mm-hmm.
on average, for 5 months straight, I would receive around 3 rejections for 3 companies, and that's not easy. Sometimes you would
Mm-hmm.
question, no, na, am I competent ba? Or
Mm-hmm.
am I even qualified to be on this job? Or ano ba,
Mm-hmm.
bobo ba talaga ako? Hindi pa talaga ako, am I not fit for this? Those are the questions that we ask
Mm-hmm.
ourselves sometimes. And those sometimes will fester. So how
Mm-hmm.
will we be able to bounce back from that? Number one would be practice kindness towards yourself talaga.
I
Kasi
agree.
as I've said, the world is such a harsh place. Imagine being rejected multiple times. Tapos ikaw pa, sasabihan mo sa sarili mo na, baka bobo talaga ako, no? You're not helping yourself. So,
Yeah.
practice kindness to yourself. Forgive yourself. If you think
Self
that,
sabotaging.
yeah.
Sometimes you do that. Self sabotaging.
And also, if we self sabotage, we should also be kind and patient to ourselves as well. So,
Correct. Correct.
um and at the same time, you need to also understand that hindi ka kasi perfect, and there will always be rejections. And when you want to forgive yourself and be kind to yourself, rejection doesn't mean that you're not good enough. Rejection
That's
might just
true.
mean that you might not this might not be for you yet, so continue looking for another thing. And eventually, it is true that eventually things will fall into place. And so don't get stuck in that cycle. Try to move
Right, right.
forward, and don't, para bang this is just one rejection, and this is just one, um I don't know, one hitch among all of the positive things in your life. And so do not let it define you, right? So yun yung mga sinasabi ko sa sarili ko before as well. And
Mm-hmm.
um it is also recalibrating and change of perception and how you look at that rejection that will also help you elevate all of those feelings as well. So yun, that's how I did it. So hopefully it will also help other people then.
Yes, I think there's a really it's really a big help if you start having like a positive self-talk as
Oh,
well, because
definitely. Yeah.
it may sound really crazy that you're talking to yourself, but you know, it really helped. It really helped. Well, as well personally, I it really helped me
Yeah.
to talk
Actually,
positively.
actually, yung self-talk, that is very healthy. That's healthy. That
Mm-hmm.
is a sign of, parang you're friends with yourself. As a matter of fact,
Correct.
one of the good signs of development in children is when they talk to themselves. That's one of the signs of a healthy development. And so, why is it
Right.
not applicable for adults per se? So yun, para
Correct.
ba?
Correct. So yeah, going back, looking for a job can be really tough and stressful, and, and it can toll on your mental health. But you know what? Don't worry. There's a solution because the Fast Conference is here. Magpo-promote lang ako. Is here
Yes.
to help you discover the future of work and connect with a recruitment and like-minded professionals. So at the conference, you can hear from expert speakers about the latest trends and innovations shaping the job market, and you can join, you know, panel discussions on essential skills for thriving in the workforce, and even explore exciting job opportunities at the virtual job fair. So attending the Fast Conference can give you the resources and support you need to succeed in your job search while prioritizing your mental health. So why wait? Register now and take the first step towards unlocking the professional potential. So Glance, thank you so much for your time, but
Yes, thank
I'll
you as
just have the
well.
one last question because we're
Yes, go
almost done
ahead.
with our talk. So, any tips or advice that you can give to our job hunters or to those who people who just lost their job? What encouragement or what tips would you like to share with them?
Yes. Well, I was also an HR practitioner back in the days. So, as in the perspective of an HR and in the perspective of psychology as well, one would um, be okay by being a beginner. It's okay not to be an expert in everything, especially if it is a field that is quite new to you. And then number two is be honest in your application and be honest in your expectations, not only for your the company but also expectations from yourself as well. That is a good, healthy communication with a prospect company. And at the same time, number three is, try to enjoy the process. It's always the end goal that we are so concerned about, and we are not, what you call this, we are not so much concerned with how we got there. But when we are already there, it's quite interesting to see what's the journey. So be there, be present in the moment, and don't
Right.
pressure yourself too much. So yeah, good luck to
That's
those
true.
who will be there, no? So yes.
Yes. So again, I think one thing that I learned from this talk or from this topic is, you know, being kind to people who lost their job is really important because it can help them feel better during a tough time. So for those who have or who know someone who just lost their job, just so you know, losing a job can be emotional and stressful. So leading to feelings of sadness and anxiety. So by showing kindness, as what Glenn said, showing kindness such as listening or offering help, you can make a big difference in someone's life. So it's important to remember that losing a job is not a personal failure, and everyone deserves kindness and support during difficult times. And I actually prepared this quotation. It says, "When one door closes, another opens. So
Oh,
don't focus
yes.
too much on what's gone, but keep your eyes open for new opportunities." So this is a reminder for all of
Wow.
us to stay positive after losing a job and keep an open mind about new opportunities that may
Yes.
come our way. So thank you so much, Glens, for
Thank
this. I
you
think
so much.
you're the most favorite guest speakers here because we have 650
Oh,
viewers as of
wow.
the
Oh,
moment, and
wow.
yeah, that's the most views that we have all throughout this episode. So thank you so
Thank you
much.
as well.
Do
Thank
you have
you.
anything to promote or to
Just,
anything like?
I just like to say thank you for the opportunity. And you saying that we reached like 600 people, it makes me feel good because it means that a lot of people are interested about talking about their mental
Yes,
health. And that in itself, is a win for me and for everybody who advocates the same. So thank you so much, everybody.
this is so nice. I really love this topic and I really love talking to you about it. So thank you so much, Glens. And I hope we have another
Yes.
session for another topic. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching as well. Again, thank you, Glens. And we'll see you on our event or fast conference on Saturday. So if you are interested to get the job opportunity or to grow as in your career growth, then register. So yeah, let it see you on our next live and see you on our next Kumu episode. That's all for today, folks, and have an amazing day or week ahead. Thank you, guys. And we're done. Thank you so much, Glenn.
Thank